So you can dislike people, you can think that they're filthy, that they're dirty, and still have a fantasy of saving them, which we see that in a lot of cases. And white people always had always adopted black and brown children. Okay, so, and the other thing, and we can talk about it a little later, is the stereotypical depiction that we've seen this in the press since the first meeting of the Yemeni with the Zionist movement in description back in 1881, 1882, treating the Yemenites like natural worker, like people that cannot think, saying things about them that they can be used. They were deemed a natural worker. They could, despite the socialist agenda, they were paid less. Other things that directly relate to this that you can find is description of the Yemeni not understanding how to care for their children in the very elementary activities such as bathing their children and changing a diaper. I was just in a presentation with Noah Chazan, who's another researcher based in New York now. She showed a picture from Hadassah where caregivers or nurses in a Hadassah uniform were teaching Yemenite mothers how to peel an orange. So the level of interference, if you think about it, from this point to thinking that they were not unfit parents, the road is very, very short. In some articles, they were even saying, oh, they didn't care. They said it explicitly. And they said in the camps, when we told them that a child died, they just said, God give and God take. Elohim natan ve'Elohim lakach. So again, interpretation of their religious belief in God as a lack of care. And this is why you can hear this description repeat over and over again, but also in the testimony of the nurses. Okay. Yeah, and the other final thing that we will mention is censorship that, many times it works in a very kind of more gentle way, and not necessarily that an editor is calling me and telling me you cannot research about it, okay? But censorship is something that can work in, to me, censorship is not deciding to say, okay, we're going to allocate. Because when you decide to investigate, you need to say, these are the reporters that I'm putting to report this now. This is resources, this is money and personnel that is going to be working on it. But we have seen also censorship, that's old-fashioned censorship, that's saying, you can't publish this. And my editor told me, forget it, it's just fiction. It never happened. So of course, if it would happen to his grandmother or aunt, he wouldn't be saying that. I know that you have experience.
I experienced two situations of censorship. The first one was when Rabbi Meshulam started his actions. The manager of Pharashat Aleph of Kol Israel, where I used to work, wrote to all the journalists that it's forbidden to give airtime to people who support Uzi Meshulam. That is, when people used to call the radio and say what their opinions are, and if they wanted to talk about Meshulam's actions for revealing the kidnapping affair, he said it's forbidden. You are not allowed to let them talk on the radio. So this is one example. The second example was that after the investigation committee published its report, its final report, we the journalists received it, and I received it, and I remember reading it very thoroughly because by then I knew a lot about the affair, and I knew it's a big lie, and I wrote an article to Haaretz right after the committee finished its job, just like Shoshi said. Haaretz declared that this is the end of the affair. No more, it's over. No more investigation is needed. And following this, they published in the opinion section, in the opinion section of Haaretz, they published for a few days. They published articles, opinion articles by people, including Dvorah HaKohen, that were clapping to the committee, to the investigation committee. Ah, great! You see, it's nobody's fault. The babies died, and how great it is. This is the end of it. What a great committee it was. And I bet they never read the report. So I wrote an article that criticized the report of the committee. They refused to publish it. They didn't publish even one report that was critical to the investigation.
Well, after that, Ehud Engel Ehud Engel wrote the questions.
No, this was before. This was before the end. Before.
No, after. Yeah, he wrote questions to the committee members.
Later.
Later on, and after that, Aviva Lori published something where she looked at different. No, but Sanjero.
So maybe we will just gather it up just with saying what's now. Maybe a few words before we discuss it with you. Just what's the situation now, maybe? At the end of 2016, I think it was, the government decided to open the archives of the committees that dealt with the Yemenite kidnapping, and the Prime Minister Netanyahu declared that now every family is going to know where their children are. And the newspapers again celebrated it, and here it is. It's all solved. We know where the babies are. Well, this is not true. Some of the public does not know. I mean, some of the people do not know. This is not true. The archives did not tell us anything that we didn't know before. We still don't know where the babies are. What did they do with the babies? And the second thing that we don't know is who were the people that were involved in it. Who were the criminals, as Paul said. Okay? So the affair is not solved yet. The Israeli government still lies about it. It's still like the former governments. It's not only Netanyahu. All the governments along the years refused to say the truth about the affair and refused to acknowledge that it ever happened. Okay, so this is the situation now. It's I think we have a long journey ahead of us. It's not finished. No.
Yeah, and maybe with that, I mean, just in terms of the media, I'll say that the social media definitely changed something and at least managed to put a dent in the dominance of the mainstream media, because now members of all the organizations, they're able to take charge of their own narratives, right? So they're able to record, they're able to publish. You can look at some of the websites of Abraham, of Forum Achai, so they're able to do, and there are different actions they're taking. We can maybe, if you want to ask about it, legal actions, but it's still not the same. So many activists that I spoke to say that they still need the mainstream media because of the authority, because of the wider appeal. Some of the activists told me, if I want to get beyond my little circle without investing a lot of money in advertising, I have to get on television still. So this is still kind of a
it's a tool. It's a good tool, but it's not enough. And one more point I have to say. I think what I understand is that the Israeli state, the Israeli government is terrified by the option that this affair would be exposed, that the truth will be revealed. We know from people who told us and gave us this information that when they appealed for jobs, for high-ranking jobs in the government offices, they underwent
Security
investigation, a questionnaire, and among the questions, there always was a question: do you have any relation to the kidnapped babies? Now, what's the connection between the security of the state of Israel and the kidnapped babies? Okay. The second example that I want to tell you about is that I don't know how many of you know that Rabbi Meshulam, when he was released from jail, he was released on condition that he doesn't deal with ילדי Teiman anymore. Now this is an undemocratic condition, undemocratic demand. In a democratic country, a person can deal with anything he wishes. He can investigate, he can talk, he can even demonstrate. So what I understand is the state of Israel, it's not the illegal actions of Rabbi Meshulam that the Israeli state is concerned about. It's his fight to reveal the truth, the danger of revealing the truth. That's what the state of Israel is afraid of.